Your ad could be ran here. myjbn.com/support. myjbn.com/support for more information.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Q-Time is a classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q-Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q-Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q-Time, an Urban Passport member.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, trying to get down.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network. Tell everybody they can follow their dreams.
YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAC, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee State, tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Cavil, Mike and Charles.
Get into it. This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. It's good to be with everybody. Mike is out on assignment, but we have none other than Professor Bishop in the building. How's it going, Charles?
Doing well, Doc. Doing well. Ready to get back into it for another week of HBCU sports and news.
No problem. I appreciate it. Well, let's jump right into it. Obviously, as we get to it, we'll do our remembering and focus on that a little bit. But welcome, episode 151 of Inside HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora and all things HBCU sports from institutions large and small, from NAIA to NCAA. We share insights and information on the sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with Texas Radio Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. Today's show should be a good one. We will have an interview with the newly announced band director, Brian Simmons. And so we will have him on here. Hopefully that should check us off and get that started. But as we do that, I did want to do a little bit of a memory and take a moment of silence. Charles, if you would, go ahead and bring attention to that so that it's done in the appropriate way. You always seem to have the right words as we get
No doubt. No doubt. Well, we start this show off on a somber note. As Florida A&M, they mourn the loss of their former president, Dr. Frederick S. Humphreys, who under their leadership, Florida A&M was named the College of the Year, and he was a lifelong cheerleader for FAMU and advocate for his alma mater. He passed away last Thursday, June 24th, at his home in Orlando, Florida. And as many of us well know, Dr. Humphreys is a renowned scholar, charismatic visionary, innovative administrator, and admired public servant, left a legacy that touched countless students, corporate leaders, and philanthropists and peers across the nation. So, Dr. Humphreys, a giant, literally a giant of a man, a giant within this HBCU culture in terms of his leadership, not only at Florida A&M, but Tennessee State as well.
No doubt about it. I can't let you get away with that. You told us a story off mic, so you got to tell us a little bit about a story. I think everybody would be blessed to hear this. So if you would share that with us.
Yeah, no doubt. Of course, back in high school, you take your trips to your various HBCUs, and one of my trips was to Florida A&M University back in, I believe it was 1990, and I got an opportunity to meet Dr. Humphreys then. And as it so happened, went to Jackson State, and I came back to Florida A&M when Jackson State played Florida A&M in 1995, I believe it was. But I met Dr. Humphreys again, and he said, Bishop, I remember you. You came on one of the college tours a few years back. I said, yes, sir, I did. So he looked at me and said, man, I knew you were destined for great things. And you messed around and gave it to Jackson State. So I thought it was, I remember that moment well when you have this 6'7" man who's very well known, very charismatic, very passionate about Florida A&M. For him to share that little detail with me, that was fun. So he will definitely be missed. I'm sure Florida A&M, Rattler Nation, I shared in their grief in terms of all that Dr. Humphreys was able to do for Florida A&M. And, it was, Florida A&M, and you can definitely say that was the it school for quite some time for a lot of us, who followed HBCUs and followed HBCU sports. So.
No doubt about it. Great points you're making there. Want to shout out to brother Colonel Greg Clark. He is the current national president of the FAMU National Alumni Association. He did a virtual toast, and I got to partake in that, and I got a lot of folks that really saluted that on Instagram. So I just want to give him a shout out because I thought he did the most appropriate way that you can do it. Want to get into a video, but before we get into the video, I wanted to bring in A.D. Drew on as he traveled and touched the campus of Florida A&M University and shared some stories with us. So I didn't know if he wanted to come on camera and provide some thoughts before we get into the video tribute. AD Drew.
Wait a minute, let me adjust these blinds behind me, fellas. But continue to talk for a minute.
No problem. When I talked about Brother Clark, you know, in that Instagram, he had the hashtag FAMU. I did hashtag strike HBCU 1906, hashtag inside the HBCU Sports Lab. He really appreciated that acknowledgement. And you can just tell resonated. So I started going through all these hashtags that he had in regards to representing with the hashtag FS our FAMU president. And so you had a list on Facebook where you saw all that tributes. I thought that was a beautiful thing in that acknowledgement. So AD Drew, did you want to add any comments to President Humphreys?
Yeah, when they say he was a large figure on campus, he was literally a large figure, as Charles said, standing 6'7", close to 300 pounds, walking around, and had that deep, raspy voice. But he was the president's supposed to be the #1 fan at the university. He definitely was that. He loved his football, he loved his basketball, he loved his band, you know. And I came to FAMU in 1990. You know, not only were we the everybody who came through there was called hump babies, you know, because they came up under Dr. Humphreys, but we were what they called the construction era, because what he had started in 1989 was a massive construction of FAMU. No new doors, but new class spaces, new buildings, and renovating the old stuff. You know, it was 2 years before I could go on the set and really get the experience of the quad, because they were doing that much improvement there. I never got to eat in the cafeteria for real, because by the time you know you get to eat in the cafeteria, I don't have a meal plan anymore. So, because the cafeteria was, you know, it was closed because they were renovating it. So I got to the generation behind me, because like what Charles said, he came there. He was coming towards the end of that construction, if I remember right, Charles, based on the year that you said. But I lived through that construction, and where it used to take you 5, 6, 7 minutes to walk to class, it took you 15 minutes to walk to class because you had to walk around all the fences. But as I got closer to graduation, I appreciated that. And, you know, he would go in and fight the Florida legislature to get our fair share of funding. Yeah, we were a state school, but we were not treated like a state school. And one of the things that he did, the law school, which FAMU had a law school in Tallahassee, Florida. They shut it down in the early 70s, moved it across the street, literally, moved it about 2-3 blocks away, and became the FSU School of Law. And he fought to get our law school back. They had to put it in Miami in order for them to get it back. But we did get that FAMU School of Law back, and that was one of the major things that he was able to do. So Dr. Humphreys, everybody who came through FAMU in those 20 plus years, from the I believe came in 86, I believe is when he came, up through he retired in the early 2000s. Everybody has benefited. And one other thing, while we talk about Dr. Humphreys, not necessarily Dr. Humphreys, but just those type of presidents in general, has we noticed that after those long time 20, 30-year presidents at a university leave for obviously age and things like that, the universities kind of go into a bit of stability for a few years, because, you know, it's hard to replace a legend. You know, I experienced it at Tuskegee University with Dr. Payton. You know, Dr. Payton was the 5th president. He left in like 2011, 2012, when we've had 4 other presidents since Dr. Payton, and he was only number 5. in the 100+ year history of the school, which tells you, and there's no knock against Tuskegee, but it tells you how good of a job they do. And they try to find somebody to duplicate it. You can't duplicate that type of success at a institution of higher learning. The only thing that you can do is do your best. And we know how alumni get the same thing they get when they talk about getting rid of coaches and all that stuff. So we all understand that point.
That's a great point. And let's go ahead and take a moment of silence, and then we'll come back with the video tribute. And then we'll be getting ready to go into our break. So let's go ahead and take that moment of silence now.
Color on the horizon. When thunder and lightning pierce the sky, when faith put a glint in the eye of a fallen rattler, and hope a lost friend, when the sinew of the chest grows weary and the muscles in the legs grow tired from those hard charging linebackers, you must always remember the rattlers will strike.
Of these words, if anybody ever attempted
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed that framework and that thought. Be remiss if I didn't shout out Roy and Brian in regards to their connection and thoughts that they shared with us before this in terms of FAMU President Humphreys. With that, let's get back into it. You know, we had this show where we talked about Southland Conference and HBCUs, particularly the 4 out of the SWAC. They did get a HBCU. It wasn't for all sports at this point, but I thought this was a little interesting and fascinating. Delaware State joined Southland Conference as an affiliate member in women's golf. Delaware State women's golf has a conference home for the first time, so makes sense they were looking for a home, I should say, and found one. They'll be in there for the 21-22 season that's coming up as affiliate member. Also, along with them coming in is Augusta University, which also formerly was affiliate member of the MEAC. And then you have Francis Marion of South Carolina. Men's team will be in next season, and that Augusta University is also both their men's and women's team, just to give some framework for that. So any general thoughts you have on that in terms of that announcement that kind of snuck out of nowhere, Charles?
Yeah, I mean, that it kind of jumped out in terms of going to the Southland Conference. So I was kind of curious, how the geography of that will work for Delaware State golf. But this is a golf program that's on the come up. When you take a look at what they did over the 2020-21 campaign, by Port Kinsey, was the 2021 PGA Works Minority Collegiate Women's Singles Championship. While the Delaware State, they finished second among 8 teams in the PGA team tournament. Last season, they outplayed 4 other clubs to capture the championship at the Navy Spring Invitational in Annapolis, 6 shots ahead of the second place team. So this is a golf team that's on the come up, if you will, for HBCU.
Interesting. Yeah. You're a golf aficionado in a lot of ways, and like to find your time out there. Every time I look up, you're talking about, yeah, I'm out there on the links. I was like, man, go ahead.
It's an addiction.
You gotta find a way to get it in. So I knew you would really be able to provide a framework that's different there. The good thing for Delaware State is in this situation. Obviously, you have to travel, but oftentimes you're traveling for golf facilities. You only have one main travel that you have to do for the tournament. And being a part of the Southland Conference means they get at least a shot at the automatic berth to the NCAA Division I Women's Championship. And you can imagine that's significant. If you remember a little while from that, if you would, a similar situation you had with Howard's women's soccer, as they are an affiliate member of the SWAC for a period of time. And so that ended just this last year. So that's interesting when you think about what's going on there. You also have Jake Brown, GM of the HBCU United. That interview, you can check that out with Brian and AD on Sports Wrap. That was fascinating to see about that. And you talk about HBCU United, HBCUs come together for the TBT tournament that has become pretty big during this time in terms of the interest. And I guess anytime you put that cash out there, it can get fascinating. Any thoughts in terms of HBCU United, these HBCU players coming together to seek to get that money for the TBT tournament? Did that galvanize you in any way? Had any particular thoughts you had on that, John?
Yeah, well, I mean, when you started putting these HBCU sort of all-stars together, if you will, to go after their money, that's huge. So really excited about what they're able to do with regards to HBCU United. So going forward, we'll see what they can do within that tournament format.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. So what's out there on your mind? We're shorts in a way with the landscape truly changing. I mean, obviously we've known about it since forever, but the day is coming. It seems like it's actually coming. Any thoughts in general on that, or do you want to go in a different direction?
Well, we keep talking about transfer portal and guys coming in to HBCU. So you had some signings and things of that nature over to Alabama A&M and Tennessee State. Tennessee State was able to land a quarterback who formerly was at Auburn. So we'll see how that sort of competition starts to play out at HBCUs over this upcoming fall, because you're starting to see, some of these Power 5 guys transfer back into HBCUs, want the HBCU experience. So we'll see if it's an ongoing trend with transfer portal being what it is. But hopefully, as a fan of football, that collective talent, sort of raises up, if you will. So it'll be fun fall that I think everybody is looking forward to. And the memes are flying left and right in terms of everybody's seeing, maybe a West Virginia transfer, a Clemson transfer, an Auburn transfer, this, that, and the other. So it's fun to kind of watch this excitement galvanize around this upcoming 2021 football season.
Yeah, that's a great point. When you talk about that, what about if you hit by, you go from Bethune-Cookman University, you you signed here, you could play Grambling, then you go to Tennessee State, everybody's like, hey, that game is the first game of the year, you get to play Grambling. But then you got quarterback transferring in. So that's fascinating to see. What do you think is his thoughts in terms of, I guess the transfer portal brings it, the transfer portal takes it away.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, the same thing that'll make you laugh or to make you cry. So, and that's in some ways what the transfer portal is, but hopefully competition brings out the best in all of these athletes in terms of wherever they transfer, get their opportunity, they'll get a chance to prove themselves. And we're starting to see guys get in front of the transfer portal, if you will, and they kind of read the tea leaves wherever they are. And it's like, let me try it over here. Or, they found a comfortable fit. So like I said, there's so much excitement that's galvanizing around this 2021 football season. Once we get beyond Media Day, which is July 20th, it's foot on the floor, all systems go. It's going to be fun to really get into some of these training camps. I know quite a few of us will be around all of these schools at some point, hopefully get these camp reports. It gets the juices flowing a little bit even more. So.
Yeah, you're less than 3 weeks away, less than 21 days, 4 weeks away, if you would, 21 plus days away from SWAC Media Day. That is going to draw a lot of attention. They already talked about that it'll be streamed on ESPN. That's an interesting twist. Obviously, FAMU, Bethune-Cookman, they'll be in the building, 12 teams, 2 divisions, 6 teams in each division. What are you anticipating? Anything that you're looking for in this SWAC Media Day to kind of kick things off with SIAC, then, CIAA and the MEAC, not too far behind that, getting in the mix in regards to their Media Day.
Well, they're
back in person for the first time in almost 2 years, what is your feeling about all this?
I mean, that was the point I was going to make. I mean, there's got to be a lot of excitement with the SIAC and the CIAA coming back online, if you will, for this 2021 football season. So I'm sure they'll have a lot of excitement around Media Day. It will be fun, SWAC Media Day, in terms of the swagger that Florida A&M University and Bethune-Cookman University are bringing in to the SWAC. Looking forward to my old nemesis, Willie Shotgun Simmons, coming back into the conference. So he doesn't shy away from letting me know how much fun he's had against my alma mater, Jackson State. So, so looking forward to getting an opportunity to talk with Coach Simmons again. I had an opportunity at Coach Prime's camp, Jackson State's camp, to talk with Coach Sims from Bethune-Cookman. So, everybody's really excited and looking forward to presenting their teams. And in a lot of ways, Media Day gives us an opportunity to present these teams, and it like I said, it gets the juices flowing for the upcoming season, where you kind of get that sneak peek of what's around the corner starting last week of August.
Yeah, you talk about Willie Simmons with the strike again, boy. I tell you, there's going to be a lot of folks out there interested in the strike force in so many different ways. But Terry Sims, he's no slouch, obviously, in many different ways. What are your thoughts? Share us a little more in terms of how that conversation went with Terry Sims during the Deion Sanders Coach Prime's camp.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's a competitor. He's looking forward to, he's made a point that when they've played numerous SWAC teams over the past 4 or 5 years, or during his tenure there at Bethune-Cookman, and they fared well. So he feels like Bethune-Cookman will be, able to come right into the SWAC and pick up right where what they've been doing against SWAC teams. Victory over Jackson State, of course, we were there at the SWAC MEAC Challenge. And, bringing that level of physicality that we talk about with the MEAC, bringing that to the SWAC. So, I think Bethune-Cookman, they're not a team that a lot of us talk about on a consistent, but, they can be giant killers. And they're coming in ready to, bump heads, if you will, in the SWAC.
I have a follow-up that I want you to think about, but let me give a shout out to a couple of our lab listeners out there getting it in. Dana Wilson, Chuck Hunt, always in the house. Troy Lamont Coleman, Aggies, King, Big Daddy of HBCU football up in this joint. That is his favorite saying. I just get a crack out every time I read it. G-Boom Holly says, just think, by the time the show comes back, episode 152, the SWAC will be at 12 members. That's no doubt about it. Edwin Drake.
July 1.
Brother Kevin Crawford. He is a rattleritis. What were you going to jump in there and say, Charles?
July 1, the face of the conference changes. So
Yeah,
It should be
does.
fun.
It is. That it's still hard to believe in some ways, and you want to get in there so you can see all the mix of it. And that's going to be my follow-up question. But let me give a couple more shout-outs. Kevin Crawford, proud to be Humphrey's era rattler. I love it. Appreciate you sharing that. Kevin, wanted to make sure we provided that. Reginald Johnson, greeting all inside the lab. Tiger, terrific going on, showing some love in there in terms of
Right, brother.
Oh, brother Reginald Johnson. Let me say it right. Acknowledge him in the right way there. LaShawn Harris, Karen Griffin, Franklin Nelson in the house, Fred Whitted with Winston-Salem State HBCU Heritage Center Black College Sports Encyclopedia / HBCU football history. Gotta have it. I have mine. Where is yours? Ricky Burton's in the house. Karen Griffin said Dr. Payton retired from TU in 2010. It is amazing how many presidents they went over in the short period with his long stint. And a great point made by A.D. Drew. When you have those long stints, which is so different what you see in the current era of HBCU presidents, before you turn your head, it seems like you talk about conference churning, presidents churning in the sweat. I mean, in terms of HBCUs, it's certainly something that's fascinating. I don't know, obviously not necessarily in a good way. Sarah Beverly, shout out. Donnie Page says, I believe with the players realizing that there is a huge backlog in the portal, these players will choose HBCUs more and more. Great point. Wendy Jenkins Bishop showing us love. Happy birthday. Last week, belated birthday. Want to make sure we got that shout out in there. Hope you had a great one in terms of that. I made sure not to call Charles so you could get all your appropriate time in. I wasn't doing, so I'll be over there disturbed and make sure I get my couple of drinks. Because every time I come over there, man, they treat me so nice in that household. It's hard for me to stay away. G. Boone Holly says, I'm not sure if I can make SWAC Media Day this year. Oh, I hate to hear that. Certainly we'll check that out. Man, we're going to miss G. Booms can't make it. He's a certainly great presence to have it. Lonnie Shaw says, Kevin Crawford in the Deion Sanders voice, the strikes and you're out. Y'all know he said 3 strikes and you're out. That's pretty good. Reggie Walson says, good evening, gentlemen. Jerome Jeep Sutton's in the house representing FAMU in so many different ways. Anthony Weston, the SWAC East will be a monster. HBCU strong, CIAA in the house. Stephen Robinson says, good evening. George Walker, Dwight Moore, shouting us out with Willie Simmons Prime and Maynard, the SWAC Media, and the Odom's gone. So you expect much more spicy SWAC Media Day this year, no doubt about it. You can bet on that one. I put some money on that one. I think you're gonna have it. Stefan says BCU or FAMU could be in the championship game the first year in the SWAC. Very true. Very true. Don't take it away. I know some Jackson fans says other ways. Alabama A&M Bulldogs say not so fast, my friends. AD says see the BCSN Sports Wrap in terms of what's going on there. With that, let's take this quick break, and then on the other side, I'll have the follow-up with you. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports Network.
Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. I want to see a little love there. You know we have to do it. THG, they coming out. That's the agency shirt. Check out the new logo we doing with THG representing a little bit there. So be prepared. All this is coming. All these goods are coming. Get your order in. Get your order in.
It's a hit on the golf course.
Don't forget, President Humphreys was your frat brother, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil and Charles Bishop. You know we wouldn't forget that. I was trying to be nice and not go overboard with, you know, just that leadership trait of the men of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But since you give me a chance to kind of beat my chest, you know, we're talking about brother President Humphreys in the house. We just always find a way to do that. Like Charles sent me a picture that had him back in the day in terms of a young brother of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. I just got tickled in regard.
Oh, made a new basketball team. That was pretty dope.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty dope. That was real dope in a lot of ways. But that's what they do. That's what they say. That's what they do over there at FAMU. I have a shirt that I'm putting together. I think it'll be fascinating. I'm gonna start it out for the brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. It incorporates a little bit of the mix in a unique way between the fraternity and the SWAC. And then if it ladders up and people appreciate it, I'm gonna look at also doing it for the other fraternities and sororities out there. So I'm fascinated with that. But I wanted to jump back in here and get a little more in terms of this context. And we'll get a chance probably to take a deeper dive on this Thursday when things become official. But outside of that, not necessarily focusing on FAMU Bethune-Cookman, but in terms of them moving from a full schedule in the MEAC that they previously played to now, in a lot of ways, your focus is on division and where you fit in the division. Obviously, you play your intra-division games and inter-division games in terms of what that looks like among your conference. And then having that championship game to sign it off. So one, there's a little mix between how you focus on your division and making sure how does that play out to get where you need to go to. But at the end, you're not focused on just where you finish in terms of championship, but you got that one more game because you might have the best overall regular season, meaning you get to play at home in this situation, but you still got to play that one game to finish it all up to get the regular season championship. And from what you experienced, Charles, or what you've seen in terms of the SWAC, how does that change things? And how do you think maybe the coaches, I love to get their official, and we'll ask them SWAC Media Day so we can give everybody that coverage. But in terms of your opinion, what does that look like to you?
It adds another layer of pressure on a team to now get to the Celebration Bowl. Now, when you talk about what the divisional aspect of it, Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, Alabama A&M, Jackson State, all those teams fighting it out in the East. You know that there's going to be week in, week out a dogfight going on in the East. Now we got the SWAC champion from the prior year, 2019 Alcorn, moving over to the West. So just the thought of Alcorn fighting it out with Southern, Grambling, a resurgent UAPB, Prairie View, Texas Southern trying to get back in the mix. Week in, week out, the excitement level around the Southwestern Athletic Conference is going to be at a fever pitch. And then you got to get to the SWAC championship game. You got to play the SWAC championship game to get to Atlanta. So we're talking about, seriously, a playoff sort of atmosphere week in, week out from September all the way through November. And then, that first week of December, just the thought of whomever the SWAC East representative is, Florida A&M versus Southern. Think about that. Jackson State versus Southern. Think about that. Alabama A&M versus Grambling. Think about that. I mean, I'm just naming schools. I don't want to slight anybody's school because I think everybody has just as great an opportunity to get to the SWAC championship as anybody. But just the added layer of pressure in that SWAC championship to get to the Celebration Bowl. I'm just looking forward to it. You add Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman to the mix, a resurgent Jackson State. This is going to be fun. This is going to be one of those seasons that you remember? And I'm very serious about this. I cannot remember having this much excitement about an upcoming season since probably the Steve McNair years. I mean, that was, fever pitch week in, week out in terms of taking on a team, a Steve McNair team. But this is going to be fun, 2021.
Yeah, to give you a little indication how I get excited this. We normally get our magazines to start reading through there and seeing where people are putting different dispositions on what may take place during the season. Obviously, you take all that and then you add all the dissect the parts that you put together in those different frameworks. And obviously, the season was shortened this year because it played in the spring. We gave our indications there and prognostications, I should say, in terms of what that looks like. And we'll get a chance to update that. But side note, and I don't even want to mention the magazine because I was so disappointed. But as I was talking about going in these magazines, I picked up one of the magazines and it had its breakdown in terms of Lindy, and it had all the information, different divisions and who they saw at the top. Fascinating how they look, and you agree or disagree. Then there was another magazine waiting for. I go to Barnes and Noble, see if I can get it. I go to my local Walgreens, see, pick it up. I go to grocery store, not there yet. So I said, this year, I'm so interested in this, I'm going to go ahead and order it. And I do a subscription. That way I don't have to keep running back and forth and checking whenever. It'll get here. And usually they mail out the subscriptions earlier than they put it in the newsstands anyway. So I'd be the first one to get it. So I put all this in there. I get the magazine. I'm working on something, so I put it aside, and I finally get a chance, rest, and get something in my hand so I can really digest and read through it. I open it up, and it has 10 SWAC schools. It doesn't have anything about this expansion. It talks about what took place in the Southland. It talks about some stuff going on in the Sun Atlantic, and I was just like, really? Teams leaving OVC, teams that going into the Big South. I say the biggest blast of all this in a lot of ways was the SWAC. Maybe some bias there, but it certainly was something that you had to be aware of. So I sent out a letter to him, everything, and copied Charles in and got his thoughts about it. And he was like, yeah, that's most appropriate. And so I just wanted to get that off my chest a little bit. Like I said, I don't even want to say anything about the name. Any thoughts that you want to share on that?
It underscores, Dr. Cavil, how we have to love on and appreciate our HBCU media, because that's an unforgivable sort of sin to not do the research, not do the homework, and present yourself as an authoritative publication. It underscores the fact that there are outlets who are invested in your HBCUs, invested in the culture. So you have to be able to call out those that are not invested in this culture. Dr. Cavil, you have SWAC hours. Carlos Brown, SWAC hours. Mike Prince, SWAC hours. HBCU, SWAC hours. It means something. It really means something. And I just want our fan base to understand that it's important that you love on HBCU media and you love on those that are presented in a formidable way that you can appreciate what's being put out there.
Ooh, well said, well said. If I had the mic, I'd drop it. In fact, let me just reach for it, drop it in. What they say, well said in terms of that. And I want to shout out Dr. Charles McCullen because I made him aware of it and he shot a letter himself. And I really wasn't expecting that. But he said, no, it was appropriate. You said it in a good way. And you really went into it. And I thought that I needed to put a little bit of weight behind it. So I want to shout out Dr. Charles McCullen to do that because he was just as a fan when he resided here in this area in regards to that. So enough of that. Let's jump back on it, get into some other directions in terms of what's going on there. Aubrey Parker says, preach, Charles Bishop. No doubt about it. You put it on your robe there on Sunday, getting up there in the pulpit, talking a little noise right there. You brought it home. With that, let me give you a little space and time. What else did you want to bring to the table that we can go over before we dig into a little more for the last segment?
Sure. Well, of course, I do work with the pregame show. Aside from Dr. Mills inside this HBCU Sports Lab, we had a fascinating talk with Tyron Matthew that HBCU Game Day was able to write about. Alexa Nicole Neely's daughter did a great write-up with regards to our chat with Tyron Matthew, and he just talked about his relationship and how important it was that Deion Sanders really picked him up at a tough time in his life and was a mentor for him. So I encourage you all to visit the HBCU Game Day website and read that article, like I said, and go to the pregame show YouTube page where we talked to Tyron Matthew. It was a tremendous talk, really gave great insight in terms of his thinking and how excited he is for some of the HBCUs to now get the spotlight on them.
You said there's a corresponding article that went with it as well?
Yes, it's on.
Where can you get the article?
You can go to hbcugameday.com and you'll see the article there on hbcugameday.com. Tremendous write-up by Alexis Neely. But, like I said, you can also go to the pregame show YouTube page and you can see us see that interview in its entirety.
No doubt about it. Let me shout out Kay Johnson as well in terms of Jackson State University. I love always in the house as a lab listener. Shout out to all these folks. I appreciate that. Also wanted to get in a little bit, talk about Howard Swimming and Diving. They earned CSCAA Scholar All-American honors. The College Swimming and Diving Coaches Association unveiled a Scholar All-American team where Howard University men's and women's program make the fall and spring semesters. Big deal. Big ups to them. That's our only HBCU program with the men's and women's swimming program, either of them, and they have both of them. So that's great. With their outstanding efforts, HU has recognized for its academic excellence 5 consecutive semesters dating back to spring 2019. Very impressive. In the fall, the men accumulated a 3.2 grade point average GPA, while the women produced a 3.68 GPA. During the spring semester, Howard men boasted a 3.3 GPA, and the Bison women recorded a 3.63 GPA. A lot of accolades. Fall 2021, Coach Askew and the Bison returned to pool after more than a year away due to COVID-19. Shout out to Coach Askew in terms of getting it done there. Any thoughts on scholar athletes, All-American honors there in swimming?
Scholar athletes, and it's important that for the culture that we get these scholar athletes in swimming as well. We gotta fight that old stereotype. We don't swim. So I love to see us excelling in sports that are not the traditional big three: football, basketball, baseball. So definitely shout out to Howard Swimming in terms of what they were able to get done.
No doubt about it. Shout out to Derek Bryant, Howard University SID, providing that great information here and there. Let's take a quick break. Our last break is Dr. Bill inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop. Stick with us as we come back and get you the last segment to close out the show.
Majesty is a premium health and wellness tea line focused on bringing delicious yet healthy tea blends to the community. Filled with an abundance of vitamins and antioxidants, we work to blend teas with exotic spices and fruits to produce scrumptious and wholesome beverages. So check us out at mymajesties.com. That's MyMajesties.com. My Majesties, an Urban Passport member.
Follow the Black College Sports Network on social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
This is Dr. Bill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. I see you representing a little bit TSU alumni, Master in Sports Studies and Sports Leadership, doing your doctoral studies as we are now having the first HBCU doctoral program with a sports education concentration. So excited for you digging in and getting all that work. That brings us back full circle to Texas Southern. A little move that takes place. We had, in a lot of ways, you kind of brought this up in the break. It's like coaches. It's like a coach from Southern moving to Norfolk State. Well, this time it's a band director moving from Southern to Texas Southern. So Texas Southern taps Southern alumnus and band director to Texas Southern University. Texas Southern University has named Mr. Brian Simmons as the new director of the Ocean of Soul Marching Band and an instructor in the music department. He will step into the role on Monday, July 5th, 2021. So he's coming up on that. We looked like we were able to get an interview there, but we'll see if we can reschedule that. Sure, time got into it. But what are your thoughts? This, as you said, this is huge. This is part of the culture. A lot of folks were hitting me up saying, hey, get this information out. We're excited about it.
Yeah.
Colleague of mine, in terms of Stephon Robinson, sent me a video, and he's like, man, this guy gonna bring a little excitement. Had him when he was in the mix, going to one side of the band, he get into it. I was like, oh yeah, this is good. This may be good. Yeah. So let me give you this statement from Brian Simmons, and then you can go in whatever direction you want to go with this, Charles. Professor Bishop, it's an honor, quote, it's an honor to join the TSU family. Texas Southern has always been a respected rival of mine. I'm excited to work with a program with so much history, both in the band and HBCU world, end quote, said Simmons. Quote, I look to honor the rich history and tradition of the Ocean of Soul while incorporating new and innovative ideas. Fans and alumni can expect to see what the band is known for as we rise to the next level. Ultimately, it will be the same ocean, just a new wave. Before I get you in there, I want to play a little clip. Kudos, what they've really become famous for so many ways when you talk about the culture, mixed in that culture, in with the side of Houston, DJ Screw. Let's see if we can bring this up, if you would, AD Drew. Let's go ahead and get into that video a little bit. As we're queuing that the spirit of DJ Screw in terms of what that looks like. And I know those that have checked out those in the soul recently can get all into it. But let me jump in there and get into Charles to really bring this home in some way.
This is a significant movement. And we talk about HBCU bands being a significant part of the culture. This is every bit of Eric Dooley going from Grambling to Prairie View. This is Dawson Odoms going from Southern to Norfolk State. This is significant when you talk about our HBCU bands. And in a lot of people's eyes, the Southern Human Jukebox is the pinnacle of HBCU bands. So to be able to pluck away something from what some people see as the pinnacle of HBCU bands to come to Texas Southern, that is significant. So, you look forward to, I think, a lot of questions that a lot of the band culture asks. Well, what would the Ocean of Soul, look like? Are they going to become, quote unquote, the baby jukebox or not? You always get that little bit of rivalry going on with regards to the band community. So it will be interesting to see what sort of spin that Brian Simmons can bring to the Ocean Soul. Of course, Ocean Soul, historic, band in terms of what they've been able to do, inaugurations, Super Bowls, things of that nature. So to bring that star wattage, if you will, to the Ocean Soul, that's significant. So looking forward to what the Texas Southern's band, Ocean of Soul, will look like going forward. What sort of innovative things that we'll see coming from them. And then the questions I think arise for a person like myself is, in this age of YouTube, in this age of sharing content, how innovative can you be? Can you continue to push the envelope in terms of some of the things that bands can do? Because if you've been watching HBCU culture, HBCU bands for 30, 40 years, is there anything new? So I'm very curious to see, what sort of things bands will be doing this upcoming season. They've had a year off, if you will, with the pandemic. So what sort of innovative things will we see? Will we see, something new playing, innovative marching techniques, all that sort of stuff. So it should be fun. Should be fun to see what Brian Simmons brings to the soul. Ocean Soul.
It's a great point when you talk about that innovation. What does that innovation look like? Sometimes when you think of innovation, it's about the new ways of doing things. And so you're right. At some point, can you continue to do that? But just like we talked about the connection you have with the city of Houston, Texas Southern University, the Ocean of Soul with DJ Screw and what that means to this area. So I'm not, other, obviously, schools can play that. And you get a little bit of back and forth, but it resonates in such a way when it comes from the Ocean of Soul being from Houston. So sometimes there's just a natural part of the regional culture that allows you to have a disposition to take something that made a lot of people not really connect and make it your own in such a way where you're playing this redress and connection. So you're right. It'll be interesting to see where does the culture go from here, because it's going to live on. It's going to fasten itself to the newness of the era with, as he said perfectly, paying homage to the tradition, but finding the ways to move forward. But as you point out, it's going to be fascinating to see what that really looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So great point. No doubt. So that'll do it for us today. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So thank you for listening. The Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time right here. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's DrKenyattCavil. Follow Charles Bishop. He's blowing it up on Instagram. He's really getting busy, so y'all need to make sure if you don't follow him anywhere else, catch him on Twitter, but certainly he's putting in that work on Instagram. If you want to get some little hot clips and then find out what's coming and where to go dig it all out, you need to follow Charles Bishop as well, as he's getting it done on Instagram. In fact, what is that handle on Instagram, Charles?
At C Bishop 1906.
See, Bishop 1906, should have known you had that 1906 in there. I wanted to,
of course,
since we had that brother President Humphreys, I wanted to get that out there. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 in terms of Twitter, Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube as well. Dream big, we continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Course, Charles.
Lecture.
Dismissed.